Right now, reports that the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is going for a full reoccupation of the Gaza Strip. The reports have come after Netanyahu held a 3-hour meeting weighing up the options with Gaza and ahead of a full meeting of his security cabinet later this week. Local media is quoting an official as saying, "We're going for the full conquest of the Gaza Strip and defeating Hamas." For their reaction to this and a number of other things, including alcohol this morning. Lots of stuff going on this morning. We're joined by Chlöe Swarbrick Greens co-leader and Nicole McKee, Act Minister. Morena, good morning, guys.
Morena.
Great to have you here. We'll start with Gaza. Nicole, if true, it would be a pretty devastating development for all involved, really. If that is true, what do you do with Netanyahu?
Indeed, that's a big question. I mean, what he's talking about is quite extensive and very scary. I guess what we're going to have to do, and we've always said that we're for a two-state solution, but at the end of the day, we're going to have to come together as a cabinet and as a country and decide this way forward and what we do. And of course, we'll take advice from the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Winston Peters, on what our next steps should be.
Chloe, what do you think they should do? I mean, well, we have to wait and see. This meeting is still going on as we speak. But if true, it's a pretty shocking development.
I mean, Ryan, do you remember 2 years ago when we were debating whether the IDF had targeted hospitals and schools? And 2 years later, it's very clear that they did. At the end of the day, Gazans cannot eat empty statements from this government. And we are seeing even our allies move far faster than our government is currently willing to. This government can't even call what is happening on the ground, as has been identified by Amnesty International, experts, researchers, Holocaust scholars. They can't even call it a genocide. So let's call a spade and let us respond with the requisite responsible action, because you do not get to pick and choose when you uphold the rules-based international order.
Yes.
What we are currently witnessing, Ryan, is a genocide, and the government can act to prevent that. That looks like sanctions.
Yeah, but the government is limited by a ruling, a criminal court ruling on genocide, which we haven't had yet, right? This is their argument.
Our government moved at pace, the former government, with the backup of the opposition at the time, with which the governing parties are now, obviously, were in opposition, now in government, were egging us on to move at pace, as they should have, for the Russia Sanctions Act when it moved to unlawfully occupy and invade Ukraine.
All right.
We can do the same thing here. It is the bare minimum that our government can do, and it's so far sat on its hands for 2 years as innocent people have died.
All right. Let's move on, talk about alcohol, because there's quite a big story out of RNZ this morning. This is an OIA request that they have done. Well, a document actually that's been leaked to them about alcohol. Minister, this is to do with your purview, area of responsibility. So there's off-licence alcohol outlets. Their hours are currently 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. You were going to restrict that, which would have apparently solved a whole bunch of things, including making crime better. And then you have decided to ditch that. Why?
Well, what we have here, Ryan, is a leaked document, a leaked draft cabinet paper that has not gone to cabinet for discussion yet. So I'm not open to discuss anything that's in a draft cabinet paper because an official has decided that they want to get it out to the media instead of the government of the day actually discussing it first. So when I do have approval, if I get that from my cabinet colleagues on what alcohol reform will look like, I'm more than happy to come back on and talk to you about it then.
Okay, so you're saying this is leaked. How do you know it was an official that leaked it?
Well, it's got to have come from official places. I mean, the only place that paper went to was out for consultation from my officials to other officials. So therefore, one would figure it's got to be an official.
It's an official leak. Okay, forget about this document. What hours should off-licences be open?
I think that we need to make sure that we can support economic growth into the future while also looking to minimise harm where we can. So it's two swords here, and it's a difficult topic to traverse, where we support the economic growth, we support the businesses. I mean,
but what about the crime, the violent victimisations? According to this, it would get.
While we realise that there is crime and victimisation with alcohol, we also know that the consumption of alcohol is drastically reducing as well. So when it comes to harm and harm reduction, once this paper's been through Cabinet and I have approval on what will work and what won't work or what we'll put through, I'm more than happy to come back and talk to you about it then, Ryan.
Chlöe, what do you make of this leaked document?
Well, the public service doesn't leak if it's happy, and what I can probably draw a connection from here is the point that the Minister is probably not taking official advice and is consistently putting industry needs, as we see with not only this Minister but Shane Jones, and putting fishing industry needs over people and planet. Same goes with this. So if we just take a step back and we talk about the kind of spectrum of regulation that's available to us when it comes to any form of drug, whether that be alcohol, cannabis or otherwise, we have kind of two extremes. At one end of the extreme, we have a complete legal free market, which is far too far down the ends that we are with alcohol. On the other extreme, we have criminal prohibition. In both of those extremes, we have the maximisation of harm, because you have entities, whether they be commercial entities or criminal entities, who are incentivised to exploit vulnerable communities to make a quick buck. So the way that we pull back from that is through sensible regulation. And there's actually a lot that we could have learnt from the Cannabis Legalisation and Control Bill. If we applied that harm minimisation framework to alcohol, we would be banning advertising, we would be making the substance really boring, and we would be ensuring that we're investing in harm minimisation.
What time should off licences close in your mind, Chlöe?
I think that should be a local decision. That's why I spent several years working to enforce local alcohol policies.
Because I would actually like them to be open longer. I think 11 is too early.
What the research tells us is that having a kind of place in which people are consuming and that there's hospitality around them and that they are looked after is the most harm minimising environment.
All right. Let's talk about Shane Jones. You mentioned him there, Chlöe. Nicole, what's up with Shane? Uncle Shane doesn't want us to be able to OAA the cameras on fishing boats. He's changed that this morning. OAA, sorry, what did I say?
No, I just said I wonder why.
Oh, well,
what has he got to hide?
It's a good question. What are we hiding?
Well, there's commercial sensitivities that go with those cameras as well. I mean, there's still accountability. I quite like all of the changes that Minister Jones is suggesting that we go through with, because it actually looks at the sustainability of our fishing quota. The thing with the cameras is really about that commercial sensitivity and allowing our fishermen to be able to go about gathering or harvesting the stocks where the stocks are and leaving them where they need to replenish. I mean, it's a no-brainer. It makes sense to me.
Yeah, because by the sounds of what the Minister's announced, it's not just the cameras, but also the sustainable catch limits. It sounds like if there are more fish in the sea, then you can catch more. But if there are less, then actually there'll be some tightening up too, Chlöe.
Well, we'll have to wait and see when it comes to actually the devil being in the details here. But the idea of sustainability and Shane Jones is like fossil fuels and climate action. The two do not mix. And I think New Zealanders need to understand why this has been so controversial for so long, because ultimately our fishing industry is not run in a sustainable way, and Shane Jones wants to take the shackles off and see more of our oceans exploited.
I think your camera's drunk. We've been talking about booze this morning. If you have a look, Chlöe. There you go. There you are. That is Nicole McKee, Act Minister, and Greens co-leader Chlöe Swarbrick on a panel this morning. Thanks, guys.